The courtroom is like a pressure cooker today. You can almost smell the tension, sharp as metal in the air, thick enough to gag on. Robyn is stiff on the witness stand, her hands clutched so tightly that her knuckles shine white. There, across the room from her, Kody's eyes blaze with a combination of anger, disbelief, and something nearly akin to terror. The kind that sets in when the person you trust the most suddenly betrays you. The judge bangs the gavel, but even that hard crack barely reaches through the storm of silence churning in the room. Each whisper, each shuffled step resounds like a drumbeat to an unveiling that no one is prepared for. The cameras are forbidden, yet everyone is aware of the risk. Headlines, Twitter, hushed rumor, all of it might blow in the next 60 minutes. And at the heart of it all is a secret waiting to be revealed, a truth that might destroy a family already living on the edge. Robyn swallows, glances up once more at Kody, and then turns to face him. She clears her throat, the words stuck in her chest that she's recited 1,000 times seeming to catch fire all over again. Pay attention, what she is going to say has the power to change everything. The silence in the room is palatable. Near silence as the lawyer stands. His voice is smooth, calmly so, as he starts. Mrs. Brown, do you promise to tell the truth? The whole truth and nothing but the truth? Robyn nods. Her voice when she answers shakes a little. I do. That one word is ordinary, but the burden behind it suffocates the space between them. Christine sits close by, eyes tightening, lips pursed tight in expectation. Janelle and Meri move uneasily, sharing glances that speak volumes, concern, uncertainty, and a touch of unspoken questioning. At the back, whispers spread among the little crowd. Everyone can feel something is going to break wide open. A phone hums quietly. A lawyer looks down at a tablet, reading papers, getting ready for a cross-examination that will tear open years of silence. Kody reclines a little, attempting to calm his breathing. He tells himself this is just another court day, but he knows, somewhere, this isn't right. Nothing on this day is right. You won't believe the secret Robyn keeps hidden. It's the type of betrayal that rocks even the closest family. Robyn breathes deeply. She begins slowly, with great care, selecting each word. I've been quiet for years. I've kept things inside me that I didn't think anyone would be able to understand. But today that stops. Her eyes shine, not only with tears, but also with the kind of unvarnished truth that causes people to shift nervously in their seats. The words are heavy with meaning, layered with emotion, charged. She's not simply recounting a story, she's revealing a crack no one anticipated. Kody's face sets. He tries to open his mouth, and nothing emerges. His lawyer provides a discreet shake of the head, signifying not yet. Robyn's voice goes on, getting stronger, thinner, each syllable a hammering blow. Christine sits forward, arms across her chest, eyes intent, and Janelle shifts, checking the clock, the walls, anywhere but here. Meri clasps her hands together, gazing down, as if preparing for impact. The first bomb falls when Robyn brings out a slim folder of documents. They're photographs, letters, and notes, evidence she had never meant to disclose. The room changes. You hear the intake of breath all at once. Even the judge hesitates, perusing the documents with raised eyebrows. Mrs. Brown, can you tell me what this is? He inquires. Robyn nods. Yes, Your Honor. This is proof of events, conversations, and decisions that Kody never shared with any of us, and I have it all on record. Kody's jaw clenches, sweat beads along his temple. He knows what is going to come out of Robyn's lips, and for the first time he sees control flying out of his hands. The tension is tangible, a living creature in the air. Each eye is fastened on Robyn, each ear stretched to hear what the next word is going to be. It is the moment that can make history, break families, or both. Leave a comment. If you were Robyn, would you spill the beans, or hold your tongue? She goes on, her voice firm now, steadying into the cadence of telling the truth. Loyalty has been confused with silence for far too long. But silence has its cost. The courtroom falls silent. No one stirs, no one breathes too hard. Even the clock appears to tick more slowly, counting down to the inevitable showdown. And just when you think the tension can't possibly build any further, Robyn pushes the last document across the table. Everyone leans forward. What's in this folder? A revelation no one in the room anticipates. A betrayal that will reverberate long after today. And before the judge's gavel rises to call order, a sudden gasp rings out from the gallery. The game is afoot. The war is underway, and nothing will ever be the same. The minute the gavel comes down, the room takes a collective breath. Robyn's hands remain quivering slightly as she holds the folder against her chest, the weight pushing her forward and backward simultaneously. The walls close in around her, the fluorescent lights overhead lighting up coldly off the shiny wood. Each face in the courtroom is riveted on her, but somehow, it seems to be only Kody who actually senses the enormity of what's about to happen. He sits like a statue, his surrounding air heavy, almost palpable, vibrating with tension. The silence goes on too long, the sort of silence that heralds something huge about to take place. Robyn clears her throat and starts again, more quietly this time, allowing the words to spill out in measured, precise sentences. I've borne these truths for years, hidden from everyone, because I thought I was guarding the family. She looks over briefly at Christine, whose eyes narrow marginally enough to express the acid skepticism beneath her controlled exterior. But protection is not silent. It isn't equity, and it isn't love. Kody's mouth works open, then shut. He wants to talk, to justify himself, to resist, but the force of Robyn's tranquil control holds him steady. Every sentence she speaks is articulate, and every sentence smacks him like a splash of ice water. Her eyes, always warm and thoughtful, are firing now with fury's storm of betrayal, fear and resolve building since last fall in the secret depths. What Robyn is about to reveal will change everything we thought we knew about this family, and it's only the beginning. The opposing attorney stands up, scuffling through papers, his voice interrupting the quiet. Mrs. Brown, can you explain what these records are? Robyn breathes slowly, releasing a fraction of tension. Yes, she responds. These are accounts of conversation, unilateral decisions, and secret agreements that Kody made without talking to anyone about them. They show favoritism, unshared plans, and times that were meant to be shared as a family but weren't. And I have evidence. A murmur of disturbance runs through the courtroom. Janelle fidgets in her seat, her fingers riding the edge of the bench nervously. As Meri maintains her downward gaze, the look on her face a blend of fear and wary interest. Christine leans in, lips clenched tightly together, the mind whirling through all the possibilities. Each look, each movement, is a silent query. How much of this was real, and how much was playing games? Kody's lawyer clears his throat, finally entering the battle. Your Honor, I need to object. Mrs. Brown's words are speculative and emotional. The judge furrows his brow, looking around the room, before answering in a measured but firm voice. Objection heard, but the witness will keep talking. Let's have the documents first. Robyn breathes deeply, setting the folder down carefully in front of her. She opens it gradually, letting each page drop like the first drops of a storm. Photographs, letters, and transcripts spill into the light, and the courtroom leans forward as one. One document after another builds a picture of decisions made behind closed doors, plans carried out without consultation with other wives, secret financial arrangements, and meetings explicitly designed to exclude certain family members. Kody's face is tight now, jaw set so tight it hurts to look at him. He looks over sideways at the lawyers, indicating desperation, a wordless appeal for rescue. No one rescues him. This is Robyn's time, and the courtroom is a cage constructed for conflict. Every eye fixed on the spectacle as it evolves. Robyn's voice becomes conciliatory for an instant, pulling everyone in closer. I never wanted it to come to this, she confesses. I wanted to believe in trust, in fairness, in a partnership that was equal for all of us. But when secrets accumulate, they have a way of surfacing despite your wishes. She pauses, allowing her words to hang. The last silence is so acutely painful, it cuts like a knife through the room. Christine leans in now, her tone low and measured. Robyn, are you telling me Kody deliberately kept things from all of us? The courtroom waits. Robyn looks at her, a barely perceptible smirk crossing her face, not one of victory, but of vindication. Yes, she states matter-of-factly, and it wasn't an isolated incident. It was a pattern, one that has defined our lives in ways we didn't even know until now. Every family's got secrets, but there are secrets that have the potential to ruin everything, and this is one of them. Kody fidgets in his seat, finally breaking the silence. Robyn, that's not the case, he says, tight voice fighting to contain the quiver beneath. I made choices in the family's best interests. He glances from one wife to another, beseeching silently for confirmation, but the responses are varied. Janelle's eyes open wide, Meri's fingers dance in her lap, and Christine gazes like a hawk. Appraising, weighing, judging. Robyn doesn't blink. She goes on unbroken. best interest, perhaps in your eyes. But in ours, in the eyes of those who experienced it, we're kept in the dark. No, the repercussions have been real, and they've been painful. The gallery whispers once more. Even the court reporters stop, pencils suspended over notepads, aware that history is being made now. The tension is so thick it's almost unbearable, the sound of each tick of the clock heightening the drama. Robyn inclines forward, voice softening but hardening at the same time. I wanted to think loyalty was support, but without honesty, it can't be. And without honesty, there can't be trust. The lawyer stands up once more, but he is forestalled, his voice cut off, as Robyn interrupts him, her voice firm. No, you listen now. Because this isn't about law books or technicalities. This is about our lives, our family, and the truth that's been buried too long. When loyalty becomes silent, the repercussions can be catastrophic, and you're going to see exactly how. The judge leans forward, pen ready, and asks, Mrs. Brown, can you provide an example of what you call truth buried too long? Robyn nods, putting her hand over the paper she selected. A small photograph falling open at the page. Here, she says, her voice steady. This is a transcript of a meeting, at which decisions regarding our children's futures were made, without the input of anyone but Kody. No one else even knew it occurred. And the effect of that one decision rolled through our family for months, not visible but intensely felt. The courtroom drops into silence, the force of her words sinking into each crevice. You can almost sense the walls pressing in, the air thick with tension. You can practically choke on it. Kody's hands are shaking a little as he puts them on the table, his fingers clenching the edge, as if it's all that keeps him grounded to reason. His lawyer speaks something in hushed tones, but it gets lost in the torrent. Robyn has unleashed. Janelle moves, her voice a mere whisper. I didn't know, she says, wide-eyed, slack-jawed. Meri's shock can be seen too, but it's more restrained, a subdued inner conflict between denial and tacit acceptance. Christine, by contrast, does not appear surprised. Her eyes shine instead, with a combination of satisfaction and expectation, as if she has been expecting all along for this verification. Robyn stands, moving slowly towards the center of the courtroom, allowing her presence to fill each space. These papers aren't merely words on paper, she states, voice steady, ringing out across the room. They are evidence of a pattern, a history of decision without accountability. And now, for the first time, they are visible. Each revelation opens a door, and some doors open up to where you're not ready to go. But you can't look away. Kody finally talks, voice strained, laced with irritation. Robyn, families do not work this way. Choices must be made. I made them all for all of us. He glances about, eyes imploring, for everyone's own good. But the fissures in his control are unstoppable. The room is transfixed, as the man who appeared unassailable now shakes beneath the force of revelation. Robyn nods her head slowly, and returns to her seat. No, she replies, softly but firmly. Secret decisions are always not for the benefit of all. They're for the ease of the one who has power. And it's time that ends. The murmur in the courtroom increases. Onlookers turn, resting their foreheads against their hands, torn between fascination and incredulity. Christine's fists clench. Janelle's eyes reflect terror coupled with wonder. Meri sits wordlessly, her head slightly bowed, drinking in every phrase. Kody's attorney is about to open his mouth and protest again, but the judge holds up a hand, commanding him to be patient. He realizes the tempest has already been unleashed. The session is concluded with the last blow of action, not words. Robyn dips into her folder once more, and produces a creased note, yellowed with age, edges worn. This, she announces, voice cracking just so, is a note I received years ago. It's evidence that what I've been telling you isn't perception or emotion. It's real, it's on paper, and it can't be denied. And collective intake of breath swells from the crowd. Kody's complexion pales. The courtroom has never been so charged, so delicate, so poised to blow. The note, tiny and humble, packs more punch than anyone anticipated. And for a moment, the whole room holds its breath, waiting, watching, knowing that the next few words could turn everything around. Secrets like these don't just break trust, they can rewrite the entire story of a family, forever. The judge leans forward once more, squinting. Mrs. Brown, will you read the contents in court? Robyn nods, opening the note delicately. Her voice is low at first, almost a whisper, then gathers force as she reads out loud, each word pounding like a drumroll of discovery. The room is silent once more, suspending on each syllable. As the words hang in the air, the tension does not discharge. Kody's jaw clenches. Christine's eyes flash with something hard and intelligent. Janelle and Meri exchange a look that conveys more than words ever could. Everyone feels they are just at the start, the opening act of a play that will unfold long after this courtroom. The gavel lightly taps again, announcing a momentary pause, but no one rises right away. The atmosphere crackles with tension, everyone knowing that when the session continues, the stakes will be raised even higher. And in that pause, that subliminal heartbeat of expectation, the reality sets in. Nothing will ever be the same. The courtroom returns to an uncomfortable cadence once the note is read. Robyn's eyes remain moist, but there is a ferocity in them that no one can ignore. Kody's body has tensed. He slouches back, fists tightening around the edges of the table, attempting to be composed, but the tension is written across his face. Every muscle seems to tense at the realization that his control is unraveling. Christine, sitting close, observes him like a hunter stalking a trapped animal, poised to pounce at a mistake. Janelle shifts uncomfortably, her fingers tracing the edges of her notebook. Meri has nothing to say, but her eyes pierce every step, weighing every twitch. Robyn forward leans, her voice firm but with a quiver underlying it. The sort of quiver that speaks of intense emotion on the edge of control. These are not simply documents, she states. They are the blueprint of choices made in secrecy. Choices that impacted all of us. Choices that defined the family in ways we did not agree to. Ways that made some of us powerless. Kody's lips move, but there are no words. His lawyer whispers urgently, gesturing to cut in, but the judge brings up a hand, stopping them. Proceed, Mrs. Brown. The judge instructs, voice firm but controlled. There is an electric silence that follows, as if the entire court holds its breath waiting for the next bombshell. Robyn reaches for another folder, this one thicker, packed with transcripts of interviews, emails, and handwritten pages. She lays them out on the table, allowing them to cascade smoothly in a deliberate but tidy manner, as if each sheet carries a silent accusation. She looks at Kody for a fleeting instant, eyes clasping his, communicating a quiet but intense message. The truth is here, inescapable, and it is mine to share. The more you dig, the further you see how far the secrets extend, and some secrets are so appalling that you're left doubting everything you thought. The first transcript she reads aloud details a conversation Kody had with one of the wives in private, discussing a plan to allocate resources and opportunities preferentially. The words are mundane at first glance, but the implications are explosive. Christine's eyes widen, Janelle gasps softly, and Meri's lips press into a thin line. The attorney for Kody tries to object, arguing context is missing, but the judge silences him, allowing Robyn to continue. Robyn stops, catching her breath. This is only one of them. There are dozens more. Patterns that expose choices made in secret, choices that affected all of us but were never discussed. And now, for the very first time, they are being made public. A silence envelops the court. Even the audience, which usually murmurs softly, leans forward, hanging on every word. The gravity of the moment bears down, a palpable energy, making every beat of the heart resonate in the hushed expectation. Kody breaks his silence, voice low, tight, defensive. Robyn, you're twisting things. You're taking little pieces and making them sound worse than they are. I did what I thought was best for everyone. His words have authority, but the shaking of his hands gives away his internal conflict. Robyn doesn't answer right away. She allows his defense to hang there, heavy and empty, before she strikes again. Sometimes the truth is not loud. It's the quiet revelations that cut the deepest. She reads yet another transcript, one in which Kody talks to his lawyer about making plans for the family finances, leaving out information that would impact the other wives. The dialogue is flat, sounding professional but in a stodgy, uptight way. Yet Robyn points out the sections that indicate bias, control, and outright exclusion. Christine's jaw clenches, a combination of anger and vindication appearing on her face. Janelle's hands shake a little as she adjusts her chair, a combination of fear and disbelief. Meri sits stiffly, clamping down on her lip, darting a glance between Robyn and Kody as though attempting to guess the next blow. Robyn glances up from the documents, her voice sharpened now, authoritative in the room. This is not about forms, this is about respect, about trust, about the promises we were all made. And those promises were broken. She pauses and allows the words to hang. The silence that follows is crushing. Every member of the courtroom considering the ramifications in some measure. Kody's face flushes. Robyn, that's not fair. You know I never meant to hurt anyone. Every choice was made with the family's best interests. His voice breaks a little, revealing his nervousness. Robyn stands up slightly, resting her elbows on the table. Her eyes bore into him, unflinching. Best interests for whom? Kody? Because some of us were kept in the dark, while others were privileged. That is not fairness. That is not family. That is control. Control can be safety until the walls come crashing in, and everyone sees they've been confined. Christine stands abruptly, her voice cutting through the room. Finally, someone has the courage to say it. Her eyes blaze as she addresses Kody directly. For too long we've swallowed lies, accepted secrets, and pretended everything was fine. Well, it's not fine, and it won't be swept under the rug anymore. She sits back down, chest heaving, the weight of her own pent-up frustration, adding fuel to the fire already blazing in the courtroom. Janelle changes positions in the bench, her voice shaking. I didn't believe this would happen. I thought I understood everything. I thought we were all equal. Her palms grasp the bench's edge as she fights to keep herself together. Meri finally faces Janelle, silent but resolute. I believed that the truth was being upheld. Apparently it wasn't. And now we are here, having to confront it in front of everybody. Robyn's tone smooths a little, nearly to comfort, but the edge of steel beneath remains. This is about responsibility, about accepting the backlash of our decisions, about admitting the harm that was done, and accepting blame. She pauses, allowing the seriousness of her statement to be absorbed. Accountability is a mirror, and occasionally gazing into it is more frightening than any verdict in a courtroom. Kody's shoulders slump as the implications bear down on him. For the first time, he understands that power without transparency is tenuous, and the image carefully nurtured he has presented is starting to crack under examination. His lawyer leans in urgent words, but Kody waves him away, suffocating under the truth he cannot spin. The judge leans forward, his face neutral but intense. Mrs. Brown, you spoke of consequences. Could you tell me what you mean for the family? Robyn nods, collecting herself. The consequences are profound. Trust is shattered. Relationships are tense. Emotional ties have been pushed to the limit, and some will never entirely heal. And it all begins with choices made in exclusion, in dishonesty, in disregard for those most impacted. Christine leans in once more, voice low and passionate. Kody, you must listen. This isn't about papers. It's about people's lives, emotions, and futures. Do you not see the effect of what you've done? Kody makes a sound with his mouth, but has no words sufficient. The room is charged, the air heavy as decades of secrets crush down upon him. Robyn steps back into the middle of the courtroom, opening her hands slightly. I did not come here to shame anyone, she states. I came here to uncover the truth, to ensure that what has been concealed can no longer be concealed. We owe it to ourselves, to our family, and to the truth itself. The truth is a force that cannot be ignored. Once released, it demands attention and resolution, whether you're ready or not. She takes out another paper from her folder, a letter she had gotten many years ago, detailing things Kody had sworn would never be discussed or put into writing. The letter reveals favoritism, backroom conspiracies, and decisions that had lasting emotional consequences. The courtroom gasps as Robyn recites the passage, voice firm but laced with emotion. Kody's face goes white as every word hits like a hammer blow. Janelle's eyes overflow with tears. Meri fidgets in her chair, subtly nodding her head from side to side. Christine sits back a little more comfortably, lips compressed in a tight line, but satisfaction glinting in her eyes at the verification of long-standing suspicion. Kody's lawyer rises to protest again, but the judge intervenes. Let the testimony proceed. This is pertinent evidence. Robyn's voice becomes softer, more measured, as she approaches the heart of her testimony. This is not revenge. This is not spite. This is truth. And truth has a way of insisting on being heard, insisting on transformation, insisting on justice. Emotional, familial, personal. Some truths come like a storm, soft at first, and then too loud to ignore. and strong enough to alter everything in their path. The judge slowly nods, signaling the seriousness of the words. Kody shifts uncomfortably, the pressure of exposure weighing down like a physical force. The other wives sit in anxious expectation, not knowing what will result, but unable to tear their eyes away. Robyn sets the folder on the table, gazing about the courtroom with silent command. This is just the tip of the iceberg, she says. The remainder of what I possess will expose webs of deceit, favoritism, and emotional damage that have been skillfully concealed for years. And I want the truth to be observed, comprehended, and dealt with. The gallery buzzes, the room electric with expectation. Everyone is aware of the fact that the next session will be explosive. Kody's equanimity is now at breaking point, his authority undermined. Robyn reclines, unruffled but unyielding, aware she has made the opening shots that will pave the way for the revelations that will follow. The gavel thumps softly, marking the close of this day. But the tension persists, heavy and live, like a storm on the verge of unleashing its fury. Everyone exits the chamber, knowing that what happens next will not only set the tone for the courtroom, but possibly set the tone for the family itself, and for the viewer. Both there in the gallery, and watching elsewhere, the anticipation is virtually intolerable. The courtroom comes to life, and the air is charged with anticipation. Robyn remains calm, but there's a knot in the muscles of her shoulders betraying the tempest raging within. Kody's fists rest on the tabletop, so tautly his knuckles have gone white. The sheets of paper strewn before Robyn are no longer mere proof. These are weapons, truth honed into precision. The gallery whispers softly, as if speaking aloud would shatter the fragile calm that has settled over the room. Christine leans forward, her eyes locked on Robyn, a look of awe and curiosity mapped across her features. Janelle squirms slightly, her eyes flicking to Kody, then Robyn, then the papers in front of her. Meri remains perfectly still, her face imperturbable, but her taut-lipped tension betraying her. The judge looks over his glasses, his eyes scanning the room, feeling the weight of what is about to take place. Robyn gets up slowly, holding aloft a page that means nothing to anyone else but her. She clears her throat and starts, voice firm, but loaded with years of unexpressed anger. This, she says, waving the paper in the air, is a letter from a person who saw firsthand the choices that were kept from us. Choices that weren't just unjust, they were cruel. They shaped our family's trajectory in ways none of us consented to, and it's time that accountability is demanded. Kody shifts uncomfortably, his jaw tightening. Robyn, you're taking this out of context, he murmurs, but there's a tremor in his voice, betraying that he feels the walls closing in. Robyn's gaze sweeps across the room. Out of context, she repeats, voice rising slightly. Kody, this isn't a single incident. This is a pattern, and it's been happening for years. Sometimes the truth doesn't just come out. It erupts, leaving nothing untouched in its path. The gallery becomes still. Onlookers lean forward, feeling the height of emotion in the air. Robyn starts reading aloud from the letter. Conversations Kody had with individual wives, ranking them ahead of others. Directives regarding money matters that cut out the family vote. Even veiled emotional manipulations that left certain wives doubting their own value. Each word lands with devastating clarity. Christine's lips press together, eyes narrowing. Janelle's hands tremble, gripping the bench as she exhales shakily. Meri's posture stiffens, her eyes shift rapidly between Kody and Robyn. Kody finally voices his opinion, voice taut, trying to exert control. These are exaggerations. You're jumping at shadows. His statement hangs in the air. Robyn slightly inclines her head, a serene but piercing gaze confronting him. Exaggerations, she says softly, letting the word hang. No, Kody, this is reality. Reality that you attempted to hide, to control, to manipulate. And now, the truth can no longer be avoided. The judge nods, pen hovering over the docket. Go on, Mrs. Brown. The court is listening. Robyn steels herself, looking around the room. It's time the effects of these actions are realized. The emotional toll on the family, the lack of disclosure, and the breach of trust all must be addressed openly. Silence is no longer an option. Christine leans forward, her voice slicing. At last, someone is making you answer to someone. She looks at Kody, eyes flashing with a mixture of vindication and rage. For long enough, we've put up with secrecy in the name of protection. But there is nothing protective about concealing the truth from people whom you claim to love. Betrayal hurts more when it is done by one you trust most, and the wounds inflicted are long remembered after words have been spoken. Robyn takes a step forward, setting down another paper on the judge's desk. This proof demonstrates favoritism, deliberate exclusion, and emotional manipulation, she says, her tone firm though trembling beneath with raw emotion. I will read passages that outline precisely how these choices impacted us, one by one and as a whole. She begins with a transcript of a conversation where Kody discusses long-term plans with one wife in secret, intentionally excluding the others. The words are mundane on paper, but the implications are devastating. Christine's eyes narrow, Janelle gasps softly, and Meri's lip trembles slightly as the reality sinks in. Kody's face pales, and he sinks back slightly, realizing the exposure is deeper than he anticipated. Robyn goes on, her voice increasing in pitch as the room is perched on every word. These are not insignificant oversights. These are patterns of behavior that show control, favoritism, and emotional distress. And for years, I was silent, believing loyalty equaled submission. But loyalty without openness is not loyalty, it's complicity. Some truths are so strong that once they are out, they can't be unseen, and they make everyone who is a part of it face the repercussion. Kody rises abruptly, trying to interject. Robyn, you're twisting the narrative. You're presenting your perspective as fact. But his authority falters under Robyn's unflinching gaze. She responds calmly but firmly. Kody, these are not my interpretation. These are documented interactions, real events that happen, and the consequences are real for everyone involved. The courtroom appears to shift around them, the tension thickening. The air is charged, almost electric, as the magnitude of the revelation sets in. Christine's voice slices through, low and incising. Kody, you can't spin this. We've lived it. We've felt it. And now we're finally hearing the truth. Janelle pushes her hands against her face, stifling a sob. I didn't know. I never knew how much it ran. Meri is quiet but tightens her fists in her lap, a tempest seething just below the surface. Kody's face trembles between shock, rage, and a growing awareness of loss of control. Robyn pulls open another folder, showing photos, text messages, and scribbled notes. She spreads them out on the table slowly, allowing each to be exposed, allowing each to strike like a hammer against Kody's credibility. This is evidence of decisions made without agreement, without honesty, and with blatant favoritism. She describes, these are the moments that defined our family in ways that rendered some of us helpless. Evidence doesn't only verify a narrative, it multiplies it, and it exacts accountability in a way words never could. The judge leans forward, pen held ready. Mrs. Brown, can you give me an overview of how these actions have affected the family? Robyn's voice drops slightly, the heavy emotional weight of years of silence breaking. The effect has been significant. Relationships strained, trust shattered, emotional wounds inflicted. And though some wounds may close with time, the effects of secrecy and favoritism have already left marks that cannot be erased. Christine stands, voice rising in indignation. We all deserve honesty. We all deserve respect. And it's about time someone finally says it out loud. Her voice resonates throughout the room, with the power of frustration, hurt, and bottled anger. Janelle quietly weeps into a tissue, while Meri's jaw clenches, her eyes fixed on Kody, silently demanding recognition. Kody's attorney stands up, trying to protest, but the judge motions him to sit. Go on. The testimony is pertinent. Robyn deepens her breath, collecting herself. She has no doubt this is the turning point of the session. Carefully, deliberately, she reaches for yet another note. Edges frayed, a worn place in the middle. This, she says, voice shaking with contained passion, is a letter I received years ago. It documents the favoritism, the exclusion, and the backroom decisions. The room responds in an instant. Gasps ripple the gallery. Janelle's eyes bulge, Meri tenses, and Christine pulls back, lips clamped shut, eyes glistening with vindication. Kody's face blanches. He sees the extent of exposure is worse than he realized, that control is being lost. Robyn starts reading aloud, word by measured word, precise and cutting. She speaks of private choices, emotional manipulation, and long-buried decisions. The words linger in the air, weighed with consequence. Every listener is held enthralled, appalled, and unable to turn away. When secret truths come out, the emotional reaction is instantaneous, and the individuals involved can never again fall into ignorance. The lawyer for Kody makes another objection, but the judge quiets him with a firm stare. The court must hear this. Go ahead, Mrs. Brown. Robyn nods and goes on, slowly divulging situations where Kody's decisions benefited some wives or children, setting others aside or outside. The courtroom hangs on every revelation, tension building, thick enough to be tasted. Christine stands once more, voice low but intense. Do you get it, Kody? This isn't documents alone. This is about the lives that you've touched, the trust that you've violated, the promises you've reneged on. Kody swallows, eyes darting to each wife, the courtroom, then to Robyn. He has no words, as the gravity of exposure and emotional blow hangs around him from every angle. Robyn stops, allowing the silence to be spoken. She scans the room, eyes locking with every one of the wives. This is just the tip of the truth. There's more. Much more. And the next disclosures will put everything we thought we knew to the test. Every trust we place, every bond we thought irreparable. The gavel lightly taps, closing the session, but the tension hangs in the air like smoke. Each of them is aware that the next installment will be dynamite, emotional and potentially destructive. Kody sits back, white-knuckled and white-skinned, clutching the table edge. The wives look at each other, feelings raw, eagerness growing. The gallery is abuzz, the crowd enthralled by the tempest, yet to be unleashed. Once the initial layer of truth is uncovered, the rest comes in a rush, and it's usually more shocking than people can possibly imagine. Robyn sets her papers down slowly, hands firm as the adrenaline runs through her. She locks eyes with Kody one final time before sitting, the silent meaning unmistakable. The balance has shifted, the tide turned, and the truth cannot be held back. The proceedings conclude on a wordless tension that permeates the corridors, into hushed tones and into the imaginations of all who have witnessed them. The world outside the courtroom waits for the next installment, for the unfolding that is bound to happen, and for the emotional battles that no one is prepared to encounter, but everybody knows are inescapable. The courtroom is almost still as the session starts again, but tension fills the air. Everyone in the room appears to be holding their breath, anticipating the next hit. Robyn stands ready at the table, eyes narrowing, hands gripping tightly onto the sides of her folder. Kody appears pale, jaw clenched, eyes flicking nervously between the wives and the judge. He sits forward, as if readying himself for a storm that is sure to come. The gallery is crowded, whispers churning like an undertow beneath the pressure of anticipation. Slowly Robyn stands up, walking towards the room's center, her figure demanding attention. The documents I've presented previously were just the starting point, she states, her voice smooth but charged with steel. There are layers of actions, of decisions, of manipulations that have passed by unnoticed for years. Layers that hurt, generated resentment, and fragmentation. And today, I'll show them. Christine's eyes sparkle with excitement. It's about time somebody finally called it out. She whispers to herself, struggling to keep her fury in check. Janelle nervously twitches with agitation, gnawing at her lip, while Meri rigidly sits, every muscle strained. Kody slouches back, attempting to keep his cool, but the tension in his shoulders and the quiver in his hands give away his anxiety. Robyn takes a new folder and opens it with careful intention. This folder holds records of dialogue that was never intended to see the light of day, she states firmly. Dialogue in which decisions were made in isolation, without consulting the rest of the family, and with repercussions that touched them all. When the truth is revealed, it doesn't just present facts, it lays bare the emotional repercussions in plain sight. She begins reading aloud a transcript of a meeting Kody held with one wife, discussing future plans and resource allocations, while deliberately excluding others. The words are dry on paper, but Robyn emphasizes the implications, illustrating favoritism and secrecy. Christine's jaw tightens, Janelle swallows hard, and Meri's gaze narrows, all three absorbing the weight of each revelation. Kody breaks his silence, voice strained with tension. Robyn, you're distorting this. You're making it sound sinister, but I was doing what was best for the family. His voice breaks slightly. Robyn's gaze bores into him, unflinching. Best interests? She says softly. Best interests without trust, without agreement, without honesty. Kody, that's not leadership, that's control. The judge picks up his pen hovering over the docket. Mrs. Brown, go on with your testimony. Robyn nods and looks up to the gallery before resuming. She reads a second passage, this one describing choices regarding children's schooling and individual opportunities. Kody's face begins to tighten, the first outward indication of tension. Christine's fists clench, and she leans forward as Janelle pinches her hands to her mouth to hold back a sob. Meri sits silently, face set in a taut mask of tension, as she listens intently. Secrets once exposed send ripples touching everyone in ways they could never imagine. Robyn goes on, voice firm but trembling with emotion. This isn't about revenge, this is about being accountable. About standing up for facing the ramifications of choices made, without regard to the people they affect. For years, things were done in secret, justifying what was done, but the effect was real and painful to all of us. Kody rises abruptly, exasperation breaking through his composure. Robyn, this is unfair. You're presenting a biased perspective, but the tremor in his hands betrays his confidence. Robyn doesn't flinch. Unfair. Kody, this is reality, and it's reality that can't be denied, hidden or controlled anymore. Christine interrupts brusquely. At last, someone has the nerve to tell the truth. She leans in, her eyes aflame. We have been eating lies and pretending everything was okay for years, and now the truth begins to come out. Some confrontations aren't boisterous, they're slow, measured, and they cut through the hypocrisy, like a hot knife. Robyn pushes open another folder, showing handwritten notes and confidential messages. She lays them out on the table with precise care, allowing each one to fall within sight. These are not documents, they are proof of favoritism, emotional manipulation, and exclusion. Each one is testimony to decision-making done without transparency, and each one has a cost. The gallery murmurs its response. Janelle bites her lip, wide-eyed. Meri clenches her jaw, shifting uncomfortably in her seat, as Christine reclines slightly, a hint of a smirk of vindication on her face. Kody's lawyer stands, trying to object, but is quickly shushed by the judge with a severe glance. The court must hear this. Proceed, Mrs. Brown. Robyn takes a deep breath and continues. She reads excerpts showing how Kody's secretive decisions created rifts between the wives, favored certain children over others, and allowed personal biases to dictate family dynamics. Christine's expression hardens with anger, Janelle's eyes glisten with tears, and Meri's hands tighten into fists. When trust is broken at the deepest level, the fallout is more than emotional. It reshapes relationships entirely. Kody shifts uncomfortably, attempting to interject again. Robyn, these are misunderstandings. You're making mountains out of molehills. His voice cracks slightly. Robyn's eyes narrow. Mountains? Kody, these mountains are made from years of hidden decisions, secrecy, and favoritism, and they've left scars that cannot be ignored. The judge leans forward, voice calm but firm. Mrs. Brown, please continue. Robyn nods, gathering herself. She reaches for a letter she received years ago, edges worn, words carefully preserved. This letter, she says, voice soft but intense, confirms what I've been saying. It exposes actions, omissions, and favoritism that have been hidden for too long. The courtroom responds immediately. Janelle gasps, Meri tenses, and Christine leans forward, eyes aglow with a combination of anger and relief. Kody's face turns white. He understands the exposure is greater than he expected, that control is fading, and that authority is no longer absolute. Robyn reads in front of the microphone, recounting examples of clandestine decisions, emotional manipulations, and years-hidden choices. Each sentence strikes like a hammer. Every hearer, from the gallery to the people in the courtroom, is captivated, shocked. Once the first layer of truth is revealed, the rest becomes unavoidable, and often more shocking than anyone imagined. Christine stands, speaking in a low, angry tone. Kody, you can't spin this. This isn't about paperwork. It's about lives. Trust has been broken, promises denied, and emotional connections harmed. Kody swallows hard, words not coming to him, as the weight of exposure bears down all around. Robyn hesitates for a moment, allowing the silence to speak for itself. She glances at the wives one by one, steady eyes. This is not the beginning. There's more to reveal. More proof. More witness statements. The subsequent revelations will test everything we believed we knew, every confidence we had, and every connection we thought irreparable. The further you descend into buried truth, the more incendiary the repercussion, and the closer you get to facing the rawest feelings of all the people concerned. The gavel rings softly, the signal for a halt, but tension is still thick. Kody sits back, white and strained, holding the table's edge. Wives look at each other, feelings raw and expectation high. The gallery looks on in low murmurs, mesmerized by the tempest yet to really erupt. Robyn retrieves her documents with measured slowness, fingers firm despite the rush of adrenaline in her. She locks eyes with Kody once more, wordlessly conveying the balance has tipped. Control has slipped through her fingers, and the truth is unstoppable. Outside of the court, rumors trail behind everyone. Talk of favoritism, cover-up and betrayal starts to spread. The crowd can feel that the next hearing will be explosive, emotional and perhaps devastating. And for the viewers, both on site and tuning in from around the world, the suspense is nearly intolerable. When the walls of secrecy crumble, the fallout is immediate, personal and impossible to ignore. Robyn leans back, chest rising and falling, with a subtle labored breath, eyes moving quietly about the room with determination. The weight of the discoveries has hung over the courtroom like a storm cloud, and everyone is aware that the next installment will usher in more confrontations, more emotional collapses, and maybe irreversible changes in family relationships. The gavel strikes again at last, adjourning the session but leaving a lingering tension within the room. Everyone senses it. The wordless expectation, the realization that the next fight will not only set the tone for the courtroom, but perhaps remake the family itself. Some storms don't just pass, they leave a mark, a trail of change that can never be undone. Robyn's eyes are fixed on Kody, while she slowly collects her folders. She leans back, calm but firm, aware that what has been uncovered is merely the start of an even greater settling of accounts. The strain is nearly palpable, extending from the courtroom to each mind observing this drama in progress. The courtroom is electric, as though vibrating with expectancy, while the last session gets underway. The atmosphere is charged, storm on the brink of exploding. Robyn sits with the folders neatly piled in front of her, eyes keen and unflinching. Kody's stance is tense, jaw clenched, fists holding onto the table as if it takes physical effort to keep himself together. Christine leans forward, hands clasped together, eyes blazing with anticipation. Janelle fidgets slightly, the weight of anxiety pressing down, while Meri's calm exterior masks a storm of internal calculation. The judge glances over the top of his glasses, eyes taking in each face, feeling the emotional tension about to explode. "Mrs. Brown," he says, voice soothing but firm, "continue your testimony." Robyn standing tall with quiet poise. "Your Honor, this hearing will bring to light the repercussions of secrecy, favoritism, and manipulation, actions that have been kept hidden for years, but have left scars that cannot be denied. Some truths don't just surface, they explode, leaving no room to ignore their impact." Robyn has her hand in her folder, pulling out a letter, refolded with care, creased with age at the edges. She lays it out on the table and fixes Kody with a stern look. This letter records promises made, secret decisions, and actions that affected us all without our knowledge or permission. Her voice is firm, but the depth behind it bears years of restraint. She reads from the books aloud, sharing passages describing episodes in which Kody favored some wives and children more than others, used manipulation to keep himself in control, and withheld information that had a direct impact on the family's emotional and financial well-being. Christine's eyes grow serious, Janelle swallows, and Meri sits stiff, jaw clenched, soaking up the weight of every word. Kody blanches, realizing the true depth of exposure. The gallery whispers breaking the silence like little bombs. Robyn stalls for a moment, letting the words linger. "For years, I kept quiet," she goes on, her voice low but slicing, believing loyalty required submission. But submission without truth is betrayal, and betrayal cuts deeper than words can say. Betrayal is a silent weapon, it cuts through trust, leaving wounds that take years to heal, if they ever do. Kody finally rises, trying to assert control. "Robyn, you're exaggerating. You're twisting everything to make me look like a villain. His voice cracks under the pressure. Robyn's stare never wavers. Kody, these aren't exaggerations. These are documented interactions. Real events, real consequences, real pain. Christine leans forward sharply. It's about time someone finally said it. We've lived this, felt it, and now it's being acknowledged. Janelle presses her hands to her face, muffling a sob, while Meri sits motionless, silently observing the unraveling of the facade that has long dictated the family dynamics. Robyn pushes open another folder. To a column of emails, transcripts, and private notes, she lays them out carefully, allowing each to be viewed. These are fragments of a pattern, she states, voice firm, proof of manipulation, favoritism, and control. Each one illustrates how those made in private touched us all, emotionally, mentally, and sometimes even financially. When the little truths are concealed, they grow and form mountains of consequence, no longer possible to ignore. The judge leans forward, pen ready. Mrs. Brown, what effect did these actions have on the family? Robyn's tone eases ever so slightly, showing the emotional burden of her response. The effect has been immense. Trust violated, relationships strained, and emotional wounds inflicted. Some relationships may never recover, and the habits of favoritism have created deep rifts. Kody squirms, trying to conjure up words that might conceivably defend decades of hiding. Robyn, I did what was best for the family, he emphasizes, his voice pinched. Robyn is silent, allowing the words to sit. Best for the family without transparency is not leadership. It is control, and control has a price. The price is paid in lost trust, wounded feelings, and broken relationships. Christine stands suddenly. She now, Kody? Do you realize what the actual repercussions are of what you've done? She speaks hard, biting with rage and vindication. Janelle blows her nose on a tissue, crying softly, while Meri finally moves slightly, eyes cold and calculating, silently requiring recognition. Robyn steps to the center of the courtroom, her voice growing stronger. There's more. Much more. These reports are just the tip of the iceberg. They illustrate patterns of favoritism, emotional manipulation, and backroom decision-making, and they show how deeply these decisions have touched all of us. After the first layer of reality is uncovered, it is impossible to ignore the deeper layers, and each one is more emotionally charged. She begins reading a transcript of a conversation where Kody discusses resource allocations with one wife, while deliberately excluding the others. The courtroom reacts instantly. Christine leans forward, fists clenched, eyes blazing. Janelle sobs quietly into her hands. Meri's expression hardens, jaw tight, as she absorbs every word. Kody's face drains of color. He realizes the exposure is more extensive than he imagined, that control is slipping, and that authority is no longer absolute. Robyn pauses, allowing the silence to register. She glances at the judge, then to the wives. These are not isolated events. They are all part of a pattern that has resulted in emotional trauma, mistrust, and long-term schism. And now, it's all coming out. The truth has a way of surfacing, and when that happens, it makes everyone face their worst fears and regrets. The gallery leans forward, enthralled. The judge makes notes, glancing up from time to time with a serious face. Kody stands up, trying to defend himself once more, but Robyn cuts through his objection with precision. No, Kody, your motives don't matter. The effects are real, and they won't be denied. Christine stands tall, voice deep but intense. We've lived through years of dishonesty. We've bristled at favoritism, and now we see it recognized. Janelle blinks away tears, nodding as Meri's eyes still hard, regard Kody with a silent intensity that says everything. Robyn opens another folder, and inside is a string of pictures and personal memoranda recording clandestine meetings, judgments, and manipulation of feelings. She lays them out delicately, allowing each one to be visible. These are the real repercussions of secrecy, she states firmly. They illustrate favoritism, exclusion, and manipulation of feelings. When secret behavior gets uncovered, the emotional reverberations are instant and can't be overlooked. The courtroom responds, whispers passing through the gallery. Kody's lawyer stands, trying to object, but the judge stops him. Proceed, Mrs. Brown. The court must hear this testimony. Robyn nods and goes on, describing each event with clarity and precision, not leaving any room for uncertainty. Kody shifts uncomfortably, struggling to maintain composure. Robyn, you're presenting a biased perspective, he insists, voice cracking slightly. Robyn tilts her head, calm but unyielding. Bias is irrelevant. These are documented actions. The impact is real. The consequences are undeniable. Christine leans forward, voice escalating. You see now, Kody? This isn't about just papers. This is about lives, trust, and the emotional health of everyone in this family. Janelle nods, sobbing into her hands. Meri sits silently, face stern, taking in the full impact of the revelations. Robyn puts the folders back on the table in order, regarding each wife in turn. This is just the start of acknowledgement. There is even more proof, more records, more witness testimony, and the next revelations will rattle the very foundations of trust within this family. Truths which are so strong that once made known, they alter everything, and nothing can ever go back to being as it was. Kody's shoulders slump into the claustrophobic space. For the first time, he begins to see the extent of exposure, loss of control, and indelible truth revealed before him. The wives look at each other, feelings raw, tension mounting. The gallery is frozen, mesmerized, sensing the peak of a storm of emotion years in the making. The judge tilts forward, pen at the ready. Mrs. Brown, can you put the overall effect of these behaviors on the family into words? Robyn's tone relaxes slightly, heavy with feeling. The effect has been deep broken, trust, emotional scarring, strained relationships, and a long-term shadow of secrecy and favoritism. Some relationships may never heal, but acknowledgement is the beginning of change. Christine rises, fists still clenched, voice cold. At last, someone is calling these actions to account. Kody, do you get the harm that's been done? Kody says nothing, eyes darting between the wives and Robyn, the magnitude of the situation weighing down with inescapable force. Slowly Robyn gathers her papers, her hands firm in spite of the adrenaline pumping through her. She locks eyes with Kody for the last time. The silent message is evident. The scales have tipped, power has frayed, and the truth will not be contained. When the final showdown comes, it doesn't just reveal actions, it reveals hearts, motives, and the repercussions of years of secret truths. The gavel comes down softly, closing the session. The courtroom is still charged, tension heavy and alive. Everyone senses that the next act will not only determine the courtroom, but possibly change the family itself as well. Out in the hallway, rumors circulate. Tension mounts, and the crowd feels that the tempest has merely begun. But the breaking point has been reached. Robyn leans back, chest pumping gently, eyes sweeping the room with a quiet resolve. The truth has been exposed. The confrontations, the emotional revelation, the tension, the anticipation, the uncertainty still linger, creating a palpable feeling that the final reckoning is at hand. Some moments change everything. Once the truth is revealed, there is no turning back, only moving forward into the consequences it brings. The courtroom has cleared, but the tension remains, a thick fog hanging over everything. The ring of the gavel and the gravity of the last revelations remain in the air, suspending the family in a tense silence. Robyn sits quietly for an instant, folder shut, hands lightly placed on the table. Her chest slowly rises and falls, but in her head, all is motion. The clashes, the testimony, the words used, they've all hit home. The tempest has burst, and now the aftermath. Kody strides towards the door at a slow, deliberate pace, shoulders slumped, jaw clenched. Each step is deliberate, as if he's hauling years of suppressed truths on his shoulders. Christine trails behind him, expression inscrutable, though her eyes sparkle with a mixture of victory and lingering pain. Janelle lags behind, her feet dragging, subdued, as if every step weighs the magnitude of what has occurred. Meri follows, somber, unyielding, processing the argument and the proof laid out in silence. When the storm of truth blows through, the silence that is left behind can be more crushing than any words that are spoken. Robyn stands, collects her belongings, and draws a breath. She is aware that the emotional fallout will not be limited to the courtroom. All the looks, all the words that passed between them in intimate moments now have meaning. She leaves and spots Kody standing against the wall at the end of the hall, head down. The tension between them is acute. He raises his gaze and catches hers for an instant, and for a moment they do not speak. The atmosphere between them vibrates with unsaid things, regret, frustration, and unresolved tension. Christine moves toward Robyn softly, her voice calming. You did what had to be done, she tells her, her hand resting lightly on Robyn's shoulder. The truth needed to be told, It took far too long coming. Robyn nods, allowing the depth of Christine's words to resonate. I know, she says, but the hardest part isn't telling the truth. It's what follows. Silence, anger, repercussion. Sometimes the toughest thing about truth isn't telling it. It's coping with what follows. And Kody makes his way down the hallway, moving past Janelle and Meri. Janelle hesitates, her voice quivering. Kody, can we even make this right? She gazes into his face for a reply. But Kody doesn't say anything right away. His eyes flash with guilt and awareness. Meri's face is still, but her fists clench. The burden of responsibility is weighing in on all of them, and the dynamics that have kept the family cohesive for years are now changing. Robyn goes off to a corner, retrieving a tiny notebook she carries for introspection. She writes slowly, pen scratching on paper as she translates her thoughts and feelings into words. The courthouse adrenaline is ebbing away, to be replaced by a heavy sense of the emotional wounds left behind. Each of the wives has her own responses, her own integration to work through, and the family equilibrium has forever been changed. Christine takes a moment of solitude and leans against the wall, shutting her eyes for an instant. She thinks about the words that were said in court, the secrets that were unearthed, and the years of pent-up emotion. There is relief, yes, but there's also a persistent hurt, a realization that things can never be right again, no matter the moment of truth. Each interaction from now on will have the burden of this encounter. Admitting the truth is only the beginning. The road to healing takes a long time, and the road is never straight. Janelle sits on a bench in front of the courtroom, fingers interlocked in her lap. She goes back over Robyn's words, the passages read out loud, the irrefutable facts. Her eyes prickle with tears, a combination of sadness and awareness. She is both betrayed and vindicated, balanced between disappointment in the past and expectation of a more transparent future. Each memory she retains of the secret decisions now assumes a new significance, redefining her view of family life. Meri stands unmoving, arms folded, the cold wind sweeping across her as she considers Kody's part in what's happening. She doesn't answer, doesn't flinch outwardly, but beneath, a maelstrom of thought and calculation rages. The confrontation has stripped away illusion, and all that remains is truth and consequence. Every decision, every secret action is bare, and the weight of the consequences is crushing. Kody at last withdraws to a small vacant room, locking the door behind him. He presses himself back against the wall, slowly sliding down onto the floor, resting his head in his hands. The burden of the confrontation comes down on him, fully for the first time. The accusations, the facts, the inexorable truth, it's a reckoning he cannot escape. The harshness of broken trust, torn relationships, and the psychological cost weighs down like a physical weight. Facing the consequences of hidden actions is a reckoning that no one can escape. Minutes become hours. Wives go to sequestered areas, sorting through, thinking, and sometimes weeping in silence. Conversations start to emerge, gentle, hesitant, trying to understand but sometimes to no avail. Robyn has a one-on-one with Christine, talking over the emotional aftermath, expressing fears and expectations about what will happen next. The connection between them grows, cemented by mutual understanding and the support to face painful reality. Janelle moves slowly toward Meri, not knowing how to fill the space with words. We've all been damaged, she says gently. Meri looks at her, face guarded but faintly softened. Yes, Meri answered, speaking low, but admitting it doesn't make it go away. We have to learn it, face it, and figure out how to go on. Theirs is a hesitant but essential conversation, one that tries to re-establish trust in the ruins. At the same time, Kody comes out of his seclusion, face white but resolute. He is well aware that apologies and explanations are merely half the process. He goes to Robyn, hands slightly shaking. I know I've hurt a lot of he utters softly. Robyn looks at him but doesn't answer right away, allowing the impact of his words to sink in. This isn't about what you say, she finally answers. It's about what you've done, the choices you've made, and how we move forward from. Words are easy, but action, accountability, and sincere acknowledgement are what rebuild trust. The wives come together slowly, a tense, quiet energy holding them together. Each has worked through it in her own fashion, and each wears the emotions in a different way. But there in that space, a tentative understanding takes hold. a recognition that the family cannot be made to disregard the truth, that acceptance is necessary, and that healing will take work, transparency, and honesty. The discussions go on in whispers. Christine and Robyn talk about how to rebuild trust and communication. Janelle and Meri examine how to maneuver through strained relations. Kody listens, absorbing the opinion, knowing that the power balance has irreversibly changed. The family is making its way through new emotional grounds, and every move is cautious, calculated, and laden with history. Healing doesn't come from ignoring the past, it comes from facing it together and being willing to change. Hours tick on, and the courthouse finally empties out. The sounds of defiance remain in empty corridors, but among the family, beginning small tentative steps towards understanding and reconciliation start to form. Robyn, Christine, Janelle, and Meri stand together for a moment, a quiet solidarity forming. Kody stands a little aside, pondering, listening, and for the first time hearing the ramifications of decades of silence and domination. As they step out of the building, the sunlight is nearly dreamlike, warm, bright, and an uninhibited antithesis to the high-strung hours inside. The family enters the light, each in their own manner digesting the emotional aftermath. It is still talk, still raw emotion, still trust that hangs in the balance, but an underlying sense that the most difficult truths have been faced. Coming out of the darkness into the light doesn't eliminate the shadows, it just gives you permission to notice them and choose how